All right, so we just saw these three properties, flex basis, grow, and shrink. What I didn't show you is that there's a shorthand property called flex. So we use these properties so frequently that flex was created. It allows us to set all three in one go. There are a couple different options. You can pass in 3 different values, and the order here, if you scroll down, if there are 3 values, is flex grow, flex shrink, and then flex basis. If we have 2 values, it's just flex grow and flex shrink. If you have 2 values, but one of them is a width, pixels or ems or something, it's going to be flex grow and flex basis. And then if we just have one value with no number, or a unitless number rather, it's going to be flex grow by default. So we'll play around with it. We're going to make a new demo. So I've just added in a new container down here. It's a main element. I have 3 sections. And the goal that I'm going for, I'm going to have 3 sections. One is our main content in the middle. I want it to be a lot larger. And then 2 sidebars that are less important. So we're not going to use flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis, or we could start with them, but then we'll refactor to use flex. So here's my main element. I'm going to start by giving it display of flex. We won't notice anything. Now I'm going to give the sections in there. So I'll do main, I think I called it sidebar. I'll give that a background color of this purpley color. And then I'll get the next one going, our main container, or main content rather. So main content, which I'll give this bright green background color to. So we won't see anything at the moment. There's no content inside of either one, and we haven't told them to grow to take up any space. So I could start by just giving all of them flex of 1. So I could do flex 1 right there. Now if we only pass in one unitless value like I did right here, it's going to be treated as flex grow. So the 2 sidebars, top and bottom one, are going to grow, and they're purple. So we can't tell that there's 2 things there. But if I give them a border, border about 2 pixels solid white, you'll be able to tell that there are actually 2 elements. And then in between, there's this guy, main content, who has no width. So if I give him or her flex of 1, that's going to be flex grow as well. And now they all take up the same size because I didn't give them a flex basis. Now I can give them a flex basis either by flex dash basis, or I can just add it here to the flex shorthand. So I want my main content to be larger, let's say 600 pixels. I'm not sure how wide this entire thing is, but let's go with 600 there, and then maybe 250 or 300 for each of these. We'll see. Okay, so let's actually look at that size that we got at the end, the actual end result size. We're looking at 790, 490. Okay, so about 500 and 800 and 500 on my browser on this machine. Okay, so now I can control how they shrink down. And actually, I might want this one to grow more. So flex basis is the minimum space, or it's not necessarily the minimum, but it's the initial size that I would hope for it to be inserted at first, and then it can grow or shrink from there. So I'm going to give this more space. These are pretty wide if these are going to be sidebars. Let's say they're ads, maybe a nav bar on the side, table of contents, an ad over here. So instead of 300 and 600, I could start with that, but maybe I'll make flex grow 2 on main content. So it'll take up twice the amount of extra space, and maybe I'll increase that flex basis to 800 pixels. Okay, now let's talk about flex shrink. So I can control the rate that these things shrink, and I can do that using flex or flex shrink. Let's say that I want these to shrink much faster, these sidebars. So I'll give them a flex shrink of 2. Just to remind you the syntax, if we have 3 values, grow will be first, then shrink, then basis. Basis will be whichever one has units. Flex grow and flex shrink are supposed to be unitless. So I'll do flex shrink of 2 versus 1 for our main content. Let's see what that looks like. So as this shrinks down and we run out of space, okay, those sidebars are shrinking much faster. Yeah, it's a little odd. What we'll do shortly is learn how at a certain screen size, we could actually move them onto a new line. We could just hide them entirely. We could stack them in a column instead of these 3 in a row. There are different options, but there we go. This is how we can use the flex shorthand to control those 3 properties: flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis. This is pretty common to see. It's super useful, although every time I see it, I have to stop for a moment and remind myself how it works, which one is which, compared to seeing flex grow written out and flex shrink. They're longer, but they're more explicit. Totally up to you. They work exactly the same way. It's just shorthand, just like we could do, border 1 pixel solid red, or we could do border color, and then border width and border style. So that's about it for the main Flexbox properties. There's quite a few that we've covered. We're going to get some more practice, and we're also going to learn something called media queries, which will allow us to change properties as the screen size changes. So that's coming up.